In this video, I am going to talk about a very important trap that exists for us as day traders, and when you are not aware of it or you don't give it too much thought, you're setting yourself up for some pretty big pain. And as I go through it, if you're honest with yourself, I think most of you, if not all of you, if you have experience, are going to raise your hand and be like, yeah, Clay, I've been there, done that, and it is indeed a trap because the way things set up. And I'm partially to blame for why it exists as a trap as somebody that teaches people. Now, I don't do it intentionally, and I'm not necessarily wrong because the thing that I focus on quite a bit and others focus on quite a bit, it is important. But like I said, it kind of causes this secondary part to get more glossed over. So I just want to highlight that part and show how it is a trap. So let me first walk you through a trade of mine. That way I'm not sitting here talking in theory the whole time. You can see how this all plays out in the real world. So let's get to the trade. I am trading options here just in case you're wondering, but that is kind of irrelevant for the psychology that I want to talk about. But if you're not familiar with my screen, the numbers you're going to want to watch are down here. And also for context sake, I got in a put, meaning put option. I want to see prices go down. So if this continues to go up, that would be bad for me. So let's get this playing and we'll see. There we go. So you can see the number over here is fluctuating, changing around. So right now, nothing to worry about. It is what it is. Just giving the thing a chance, trying to get a nice $100 sniper shot. Things aren't quite behaving. So I said, you know what? Let me go into loss control mode, which means not necessarily a loss. So now I'm just trying to go for a $50 move. So loss control mode has been initiated. And like I said, loss control mode does not always mean there will be a loss. Sometimes it can turn green, but other times, yeah, it's red. And in some situations, it goes even redder than what you would really like in the rare situations. So right now you can see I am in full-blown loss control mode, seeing if I can get some sort of bounce. So trying to, I have 44 loaded in there, which would make it a $200 loss if I could get out there. And you're seeing this number, it's just not cooperating. It's not. So I do throw out an order right there for 44, seeing if I can get out there. And it's still, like I said, just not quite coming down at all. All I need is a little bit of a pullback, but it won't even give me that. So I cancel that order out. And still not trying to panic out. So just thinking, okay, this thing's got to give at least some sort of pullback. So I'm just waiting for any kind of pullback at all so I can get out with ideally a $100 loss. But now things are going even greener. So I just have to hop out right there for a $660 loss.
Oh no.
Now, this is how the trap is created because people like myself and other educators are going to say, you know what's really important in trading? You got to cut losses. You've got to have a risk management mode. You've got to be able to control losses, make sure that they don't completely spin totally out of control. And everything I just said, 100% true. You got to cut losses. You've got to be able to manage risk, and you've got to be able to make sure that a loss doesn't spin out of control. And that's what I did here. I cut the loss. Yeah, loss control mode didn't go ideally, but sometimes this happens. And I'm aware that sometimes the loss gets a little bit bigger than had you just cut it right away. But in many situations, if you cut it right away, if you just don't panic out, it actually turns out to be a green trade. Sometimes it's a very minor loss. But yeah, this is one of those very rare circumstances where it just didn't work out. And I took a bigger loss than I would have liked to. But regardless, I still took the loss. I didn't start averaging up or, just losing my mind and doing something really silly. I cut the loss, the risk was managed, and okay. So, and that stuff is all important. But this is what creates a trap because people like me sit there and say that, all that is true. But then what gets glossed over is, and this goes also back to one of the requirements of being a trader or a successful trader, I should say, is you've got to be ambitious. You've got to be one of those people that show up and like, let's go. Let's get to work. Let's get things done. I love a good challenge. Let's get to it. Let's go bring it. That's an attitude you have to have. But when you have that attitude in these situations, you risk, all right, not fun taking a loss, but let's get it all back. Let's go. Let's get it back. Here we go. Let's get it back. And then you start to compromise on setups. You start to imagine things. You start to say, that's good enough. Maybe you start to bump up position size. But you start to break all these rules in the name of, I'm ambitious. Let's go. Let's get it back. And this is where revenge trading, force trades comes into play. And you've got to be very careful with that. You've got to realize that in many situations, that is going to be, many situations, in all situations, while it may work out, it's going to be building a bad habit. Because again, this is where I think we can all relate. I think we've all been there where we've taken a loss and then we just say, I want to get it all back. And we just start over trading. We start raising our position size and then you just get into trouble. So what's the solution to this? You got to just realize that big picture, if you have a strategy in place, just follow the plan, follow your system. Now, when that day was all said and done, my final outcome was minus $320. So it was still a red day, but it wasn't as big of a red day. And that's the key, is you cannot take this line of logic. I took a loss, I've got to get back to green. I've got to get back to break even. No, that is the battle that you need to be prepared to fight. You've got to realize that, just stick with the strategy. And if I don't get back to green today, okay, you got to be fine with that. That's the key. You've got to learn that it's okay if you don't get back to green. And the easiest way to make that jump is just to know that you have a strategy. You have a system that will take care of itself. So yes, it's very hard to actually accomplish that if you're sitting there saying, I don't even really have a system. Like, I don't really have a strategy. So yeah, if you don't have that, then this is a big problem. But if you do, just say, all right, it's okay if I don't get back to green because I have a system in place. And as you saw here, yeah, I did not get back to green. I was still down $320. And remember, this was one of those rare circumstances where that loss just got bigger than what I wanted. But even with that, brought it down to $320. Which, to add even more context, a previous day in that same week, I had a winning day of $371. So rare loss in the sense of it got bigger than what I wanted. But even with that, by just sticking with the strategy, not necessarily going gung-ho, I got to get back to green, I still had another day, not only wipe away the losing day, but still had extra money in my pocket. And you factor in the other days of that same week, they were all green, they were all fine. So it was an overall green solid week. But it's still nonetheless annoying. And I'd be lying if I said, when I took that $60 loss, that I felt no annoyance. I felt no frustration. Of course not. I felt all that stuff. And that's okay. You're always going to feel those emotions because you're a competitor. You're an ambitious person. You're a go-getter. That's great. But you got to make sure that you control those emotions and you don't let that part, because that's the tricky part. It's already hard enough to just cut the loss. So don't get me wrong. It's not like cutting the loss and being disciplined is, totally easy in that sense. Cutting the loss and just letting it go, that's already challenging enough. But oftentimes people put too much emphasis on that and they forget about the after effects of, for an ambitious person, let's go, let's get it back. And that's a very big trap that a lot of people fall into. But when you just understand, you know what? I have a system and strategy. It's okay if I don't get back to green. Just keep trading the strategy, chip away at the hole, keep the hole manageable, and then let the strategy take place and take care of you over the next following days. Everything's going to be okay, and you got to be able to trust that. But nonetheless, that is a very big trap out there. You cut the loss. What do you do next after you cut that loss, which is a good thing? Do you spin out of control, or do you just carry on with the system? You got to carry on with the system. So I hope this helps. I hope the real life data here and just showing you how things can play out assisted. If you have any questions or anything like that, as always, leave those in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. And yeah, get out there and be aware of this trap. First off, thanks so much for watching the entire video. Real quick, before you go, I want to invite you to a live webinar, web class, training, workshop, online event, whatever you want to call it, but it will be me live revealing to you what I've discovered that has allowed me to transform myself from being an employee to being my own boss, including how I had only one losing day out of 73 days in total. I'm going to cover 3 keys that have helped me unlock profitable consistency within the markets. The first key is super weird, but in a productive type of way. The second key is super awesome because it quite literally is wired into our DNA as humans, making it very easy to use. But in a cruel way, this becomes a pitfall for many traders. I'll explain it all though, including how to avoid the pitfall that it creates for some. And yeah, the third key, when you hear it, sounds way too good to be true, but it's not, and I'll show you how it all works. Then at the end, I open it up for a question and answer session that is, again, totally live. Even if you can't make the live session, please still sign up as it will be recorded and you can go back and watch the replay that I will send you. Click the image on the screen or click the link down in the description box so you can get the date and time and claim your spot, which I should note is limited due to the fact that this truly is a live event. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll be seeing you soon.